I want you to stop whatever you're doing right now, because I'm about to describe a person, and I need you to think about whether this person is in your life. They made you feel like the most special human being on the planet. They texted you good morning every single day. They said things like, "I've never connected with anyone like this before." They made you feel seen, chosen, electric. And then, slowly, quietly, without you even noticing, they made you feel like you were going insane. You started apologizing for things that weren't your fault. You started shrinking yourself to keep the peace. You started questioning your own memory, your own feelings, your own sanity. And the scariest part? You didn't even realize it was happening until you were already in so deep that leaving felt impossible. 1 in 6 Americans right now is in a relationship, romantic, friendship, family, work with a narcissist. And most of them have no idea, because narcissists don't look like villains. They look like your favorite person. So today we're pulling back the curtain. 7 red flags, real examples, 0 fluff. And by the end of this video, you're either going to feel a massive wave of relief or a massive wave of, "Oh my God, that's my life." Either way, you needed to see this. Let's go. Picture this. You meet someone new. Could be on a dating app, at work, at the gym, wherever. And from literally day one, they are locked in on you. Constant compliments. Deep late-night conversations. You're different from everyone I've ever met. Talking about the future way too fast. A free sample at Costco. That little bite tastes incredible. So you buy the giant bulk-sized bag. And it tastes completely different. Except in this case, the bag also convinces you that you're the reason it tastes bad. Real love builds slowly. It earns trust over time. Anything that moves from 0 to obsessed in 2 weeks isn't passion. It's a setup. Here's a little experiment you can run today. Share something personal with the person you're thinking about. Something real, a worry, a win, something vulnerable. And just watch what they do with it. A person who actually cares about you will lean in. Ask questions. Sit in your story for a minute. Make you feel like what you said mattered. A narcissist will do one of 3 things. Change the subject to themselves, one-up your experience, or give you this blank half smile that tells you they are physically present but emotionally completely checked out. You say, "I've been really anxious about money lately." They say, "Ugh, I know. Stress is so hard." "Okay, but can I tell you what happened to me at work today?" And now you're listening to the work story. Your anxiety is sitting in the corner, unacknowledged, waiting. This pattern doesn't feel dramatic in the moment. Feels like nothing. Just a slight feeling that your inner world doesn't quite register as important to them. But multiply that by 6 months, a year, and you start going quiet. You stop sharing. You stop even expecting to be heard. And you don't even notice when that happens because it was so gradual. That's by design. Okay, brace yourself for this one. Imagine you gather your courage and say, calmly, kindly, with 0 aggression, "Hey, it really hurt my bringing up something you did 3 months ago." Suddenly you're always so sensitive. Suddenly they've been dealing with so much, and the fact that you're bringing this up right now is incredibly unfair to them. Suddenly you're the one who hurt them by having feelings. 30 minutes later you're sitting there going, "I'm so sorry, you're right. I shouldn't have brought it up." You came in with a concern. You left apologizing. You don't even know how it happened. There's a name for this move. It's called DARVO, deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. It's a real psychological term, and narcissists use it so automatically, so fluently, that it doesn't even look like a move. It just looks like the conversation. This is the one that makes people feel the most alone, because it makes them feel crazy. Because here's the thing, narcissists are often genuinely magnetic in public. They work a room. They remember names. They make people feel good. Everyone loves them. They're the person at the dinner party that everybody gravitates to. So when you start experiencing something different behind closed doors, the coldness, the control, the cruelty that comes out in private, and you try to tell someone about it, you get a very confused look. But they're so nice? I love them. And you start to think you're imagining it. You're not imagining it. You're just not the audience anymore. You're the backstage crew. And the show is different back there. Here's a tell that never lies. Watch how they treat people who have absolutely nothing to offer them. Wait staff, customer service reps, people in service jobs, kids, strangers, because people who are genuinely kind are kind when there's no audience and no benefit. Kindness that only switches on for important people is not kindness. That's networking. Also, listen closely to how they talk about people who aren't in the room. Every single ex is crazy or obsessed. Every old friend stabbed them in the back. Their own family never understood them. They've been wronged by more people than you can count. Here's a rule that will save you years of confusion. If everyone in someone's story is the villain, look very carefully at who's telling the story. This one is quiet. This one is slow. This one does the most damage. You remember a conversation clearly. You know what was said. You were there. And you bring it up, and they look at you like you have completely lost touch with reality. That never happened. I never said that. Why do you always make things up? You need to stop misremembering things. First time it happens, you doubt yourself. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Memory isn't perfect. Second time, you get a little more uneasy. By the 6th, 7th, 8th time, you don't trust yourself anymore. You run everything through a filter of, but am I sure? Am I really sure? You second-guess your own perception of reality in real time. That is gaslighting. And it is one of the most psychologically devastating things that can happen to a person. Not because it leaves a bruise you can show anyone, but because it dismantles the one thing you're supposed to be able to count on, yourself. And here's how you know it's been happening to you. Have you ever screenshot a conversation just so you could prove to yourself later that it happened? Have you ever kept a journal of events just to have proof? If you've ever needed receipts just to trust your own memory, that is not a you problem. That is a them problem. Narcissists live inside a double standard so consistent it starts to feel like gravity. It's just always there. You stop noticing it. They cancel plans, you need to be understanding they had a lot going on. You cancel plans, you're selfish and don't respect their time. They bring up something you did 2 years ago in a fight fair game. You mentioned something from last month. You can't let things go and live in the past. They have a bad day and take it out on you.
To the good version, trying to fix whatever invisible thing broke. And when you finally get back there, when they're warm again, the relief you feel is enormous. Like you won, like you survived something. That relief gets wired into your brain as a reward. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement. It's the exact same mechanism that makes gambling so addictive. You don't keep playing a slot machine because you always win. You keep playing because sometimes you win, and that randomness, that unpredictability, creates a craving that consistent winning never would. The relationship is most addictive because of the inconsistency. That's not a bug in the dynamic. That's the whole feature. And here's the gut punch. Once your brain is conditioned to this cycle, even when you know logically that something is wrong, leaving feels almost chemically impossible. Because you're not just leaving a person. You're leaving a pattern your nervous system got hooked on. Okay, let's bring it home. 7 flags. Love bombing that fast-tracks attachment before you know who you're dealing with. Conversations that always circle back to them. Feedback that somehow ends with you apologizing. A public persona that doesn't match the private reality. Gaslighting that quietly dismantles your trust in your own mind. A double standard that runs on a single set of rules. And a hot and cold cycle specifically designed, consciously or not, to keep you working for their approval. If any of this hit home, if you read through this list and felt something drop in your stomach, I need you to hear this. You are not weak. You are not gullible. You are not too sensitive. You are not crazy. You are someone who loved a person who was very, very good at being loved. And there is nothing wrong with you for falling for it. Some of the most intelligent, emotionally aware, deeply caring people in the world get caught in these dynamics because narcissists are not stupid. They are masterful.
You need to give them space. You have a hard week. You're exhausting and too much. And the infuriating thing is they don't seem to notice the disparity. You become their full-time defense attorney, the one who always explains their behavior and always extends grace to someone who has never once extended it back to you. And slowly, without realizing it, you start holding yourself to an impossible standard while holding them to almost none. Because that's the only way to survive the relationship. That is not love. That is a power structure. Narcissists live inside a double standard so consistent it starts to feel like gravity. It's just always there. You stop noticing it. They cancel plans. You need to be understanding they had a lot going on. You cancel plans, you're selfish and don't respect their time. They bring up something you did 2 years ago in a fight fair game. You mentioned something from last month. You can't let things go and live in the past. They have a bad day and take it out on you. You need to give them space. You have a hard week. You're exhausting and too much. And the infuriating thing is they don't seem to notice the disparity. You become their full-time defense attorney, the one who always explains their behavior and always extends grace to someone who has never once extended it back to you. And slowly, without realizing it, you start holding yourself to an impossible standard while holding them to almost none. Because that's the only way to survive the relationship. That is not love. That is a power structure. This last one might be the most important thing in this entire video. It goes like this. Things are good. They're warm, attentive, the version of them you fell for. And then, no warning, no explanation, they go cold, distant, irritated. You don't know what you did. You don't know what changed. So you try harder. You reach out more. You become softer, more careful, more accommodating, trying to find your way back. It's the one skill they've spent their entire lives perfecting. The confusion you feel, that fog of something's wrong but I can't explain it. That confusion is not weakness. That confusion is a symptom. It is what happens when someone has been slowly, methodically rewriting your reality over time. Trust that feeling, not their version of events, not the charming public version. The thing in your gut that's been trying to get your attention. That feeling knows the truth. It always did. Talk to someone you trust. If you can access therapy, please consider it. Not because something is broken in you, but because untangling this alone is one of the hardest things a person can try to do, and you don't have to. There are also incredible resources, books, communities, hotlines, and I'll link some below. You deserve to feel like yourself again. Not the smaller, quieter, more careful version of yourself that you became to survive someone else's ego. The full version, the real version. Go find that person again. See you in the next one.